Hello again, you're watching The Weekly, but we'll start with some news from today because at least 12 people have been killed and 50 injured in a car bomb explosion in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. According to an Interior Ministry spokesperson, a security guard opened fire on a suspicious vehicle and the driver then detonated the bomb. Within the last hour or so, Islamic State has said it was behind the attack. The terrorist group was also responsible for another attack in the city less than a week ago. 36 people were killed in that and 52 wounded. Islamic State said it was deliberately targeting Shia Muslims. Now, this week in the German city of Cologne, anti-immigration activists marched in protest at sexual assaults carried out on women in the city a year ago. They carried banners reading "No forgiveness, no forgetting," referring to allegations the assaults were carried out by migrants or men of foreign origin during New Year celebrations. The rally was met by a counter-protest, though, marching under the slogans like "Cologne against hate." Police did manage to keep the sides apart, although a couple of arrests were made. Well, amid heightened security, New Year celebrations this time went without major incident in Cologne. However, in neighbouring Austria, in the city of Innsbruck, 19 young women said that they were sexually assaulted during celebrations. The suspects in both cities were reported in their 20s. In Cologne, they were said to be of North African origin, and then in Innsbruck, the attackers were simply described as dark-skinned. Well, both attacks did happen in the main squares of these cities during festivities, so we can take a closer look now at what happened in Innsbruck. Well, the city is in western Austria, and the assaults allegedly happened in its centre, where around 25,000 people had gathered to see in the new year. RT's Peter Oliver has this report.
This square just behind me was the scene on New Year's Eve where almost 20 women were sexually assaulted on New Year's Eve by what police are calling a group of men described as being of foreign appearance. Now that has prompted swift calls for a complete overhaul, not only of how Austria deals with asylum, but how the whole of the EU deals with it. Austria is one of those countries that currently has an upper limit. It's 37,500 people. They can't go over that per year. Now what they want to see is that be put in place across the whole of the European Union. That would, though, fly in the face of neighbours Germany. Germany, and Angela Merkel in particular, have been the main proponents of an open-door system, that those who want to come can come to Germany. However, putting in place such a quota system, that would go completely against that.
We can do it, and whenever there is something standing in our way, we'll overcome it.
However, putting in place an upper limit doesn't seem such a bad idea to those I spoke to on the streets of Innsbruck.
I think the police should have done more. In Europe, the message is, I don't feel that safe as a woman going around, especially in the night, in the dark hours.
No, I not feel safe.
Many refugees who come over here have no jobs and no future. When you have a lot of spare time and nothing to do, you start doing stupid things.
In the evening, I don't feel as safe as I did a couple of years ago. You can't blame the police for this. Politicians should be making changes.
The political situation needs to change. As for the sex assaults, it's terrible that they're happening here as well. I'm not scared, but it's no longer nice to go out in Innsbruck during the evenings.
So while Austrian authorities search for those that were behind the sexual assaults that took place on the square on New Year's Eve, they're looking to completely change the way the European Union deals with asylum.
Peter Oliver reporting there. Well, amid calls for a much tougher stance on migrants, there are also voices appealing for restraint and level-headedness. We've heard from people on both sides of the argument.
We need better law enforcement in the field of asylum and migrants. We need to deport them, of course, and we need binding agreements with third countries that they take back their citizens. That's what we need, because we know from the statistics in Austria, we know from the Ministry of Internal Affairs that 90% of the asylum seekers who are not granted asylum remain in the country, and that's a big problem.
We condemn every single act such like that of sexual harassment. That means there is no excuse at all, and we do not have any problem with any harsh penalties. But In the same time, we are concerned about the whole atmosphere in the country. We cannot take these matters and put all those people, or refugees, or people with black skin, or whatever, or all Muslims, under a general suspicion and say, we cannot manage it. We can manage it.